Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And that, I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship-winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports. It's Alabama sports and the Martin Houston Show, and we want to invite you to get in on the conversation. It's the Sound of Alabama Sports, your show, your team. So let us hear from you. You can call us at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. Or join the live stream and comment, react, ask your questions, etc. The playbook for today, we said we were talking Alabama sports. We got a little roster management and recruiting with Max Recruiting. Throw a little true-false in there on the true-false Thursday. If DeBoer wins Natty, will it be considered Saban's team or DeBoer's team? True, false. Is it, if he wins the Natty, will this be considered DeBoer's team? True or false? We'll ask it that way. True or false? Will it be Saban's team or DeBoer's team? So the true, false question is, if he wins it all this year, will this be considered DeBoer's team? Normally, that question is pretty straightforward. You know, it's whoever the prior coach was. But does it look a little different now with the way college football is set up? And then, time permitting, if not, it'll be a topic for tomorrow. We got a little buy-sell that we can talk about. And the buy-sell hold is you're building your franchise. You can make this an Alabama question, or you can make it any other school or sport or whatever. I mean, not sport, but league. You have a scoring point guard, X. You have a three-point shooting stretch 4, or you have a rim protecting 5. You can immediately deploy one of them to build your team. The next year, pretty much, because you're going to hold that guy. But he's there. So you're building a program now. This is not a one and done thing. This is which order are you going to do it, and you have to get rid of one of them. You're only going to be able to keep 2 of them in your program. Scoring point guard, 3-point shooting stretch 4, or rim protecting 5. So we can talk about those things here in just a moment. Want to remind you that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Just a couple of news notes that we can hit and X. Justin, you guys are welcome to comment on it. High school football in the state of Alabama will not be happening at Bryant-Denny or Auburn. And I saw some people trying to make that a negative. It's kind of funny. But it's all about the new college football playoff format. So We can talk about that, and that may be a topic that we kick around on tomorrow. And then, hey, Nate Oates, ACC SEC Challenge, Alabama versus North Carolina on December 4th. So Jed Cohen coming to your neck of the woods, man. Jed's a regular listener up in Cherokee, North Carolina. So kudos to him getting one right in his backyard for the most part. So we can talk about those things, but we'll start the program off with some recruiting news and update. What you got for us?
Yeah, last week we had a conversation talking about what Coach DeBoer is doing and the movement with the recruiting. Talked about some offensive linemen and a DB, and we got a few new commitments. Starting it off, it was Chuck McDonald, modern day cornerback out of California. He committed on Saturday. Former teammate of Damani Jackson and Xavier Brown. He is a top 100 overall player. He has joined the class. And then, of course, there was concern, hey, what's Alabama doing with these offensive linemen? We hadn't had any commitments. And what does Alabama do? Goes out and gets two of them this week, a couple of interior offensive linemen. Michael Carroll out of Pennsylvania, who stands at 6'6", 315, and Mal Wadrip out of Phoenix City High School down in Southern Alabama, who is a legacy, but I haven't been able to find the connection of when his dad was here. He committed on Tuesday, so Monday, Tuesday, Alabama gets their first two offensive linemen to join the 2025 class that now is sitting as the number 3 overall class in the 247 recruiting rankings. So that coach is answering some questions in a pretty quick fashion that people have concerns about.
Yeah, excuse me. And I don't know the dad. It appears he may have been a walk-on. I don't know, but his time frame was 98 to 2002. A rough era right there. But kudos to that young man.
Hey, he got an SEC. He got an SEC championship.
Yeah, just about everybody that plays here gets those. But yeah, kudos to that young man and to the offensive lineman. And once again, DeBoer does something that you just you have to be impressed with. These guys are coming on visits and changing their minds or locking in almost immediately. I mean,
it really does seem that way. Both of these guys were in town. Both of the linemen were in town last weekend. You look at McDonald; he was here the weekend before. These guys are not just changing minds, committing. Like McDonald said, when he came here, Alabama was at the bottom of his list, and not only does he commit, but he cancels all his visits. Keelan Russell cancels all his visits. Mal Waldrop cancels all his visits. So these guys are locking in and saying, hey, I'm done. Bama's where I want to be. That's probably the most impressive part of it.
Let me ask you a question, X. True, false? Justin, you can respond to this as well. Is it really any different, or is DeBoer allowing these kids? He understands where he's at, and Saban could have potentially have been doing the same thing. But is DeBoer allowing these guys that he knows he's sold on to go ahead and commit? Could Saban have done the same thing? But either way, true, false. But here's the true, false question of that. Is this a brilliant tactic if he's doing that? Because it's creating such momentum, it looks like these guys are coming in Tuscaloosa and falling in love with the place. So if I'm a recruit out there right now, I'm trying to get on their list to get to Tuscaloosa to find out what's making these guys take Alabama from bottom of the list or bottom of the ranking or in the mix, but immediately committing and then canceling.
I think there's a level of truth to it. Now when it comes to summer, this is when Coach Saban picked up and started taking commits. Now the spring
not
commits
at this pace,
is where
Saban, and of course this is new. This is new. It's fairly new in terms of the recruiting calendar. But we were always we would start trickling, and then after the visits or after the camps, but not the weekend. I mean, not the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday following their visits.
Well, what it is, it's Bama wasn't taking a lot of spring commits. Like normally sitting at the month of June, we'd have one or two guys going into the month of June. We'd have one or two guys committed. And then over June and July, that's when you would see the flood of commits of guys with Coach Saban. Like Coach DeBoer and staff took a lot of spring commits. So Alabama was already pretty highly ranked this year, whereas in the past, you'd have one or two guys and Alabama would be sitting at class ranked number 25 to 30 because the guys we were taking right off the bat were 5 stars, high 4 stars, but it's the overall number from the spring that makes this look so different.
I
as
think
far as the summer comes, we've only taken 4.
But what I'm saying is, I think you missed the question wasn't how many. These kids didn't commit with Saban the week after their visit. They may have committed and we'd have a run in the summer, but it wasn't they were here on Saturday, committing on Monday, canceling recruiting on Tuesday. That's what I'm talking about. That's impressive. And I'm just wondering, is that Saban allowing them, DeBoer allowing them to commit where Saban maybe didn't, and then he would do it? Because we never saw a rash before summer camp, before the summer camps were finished and the official visits were finished. You see guys come in, and then in June, after everybody's been on their visit, and it's been a couple weeks, you see them start to come in. And that's what I'm talking about, is just that. I mean, either way, it's impressive whether he's changed something or not. If he's changed something, brilliant strategy, DeBoer. Congratulations on doing everything right up until this point. We'll be back on the other side. Pat has a question. I ran into a pretty influential guy yesterday in Alabama sports. Had just a really brief conversation with him. I'll give a shout out there on tomorrow. In the second quarter. We got some other conversations. We'll see what Pat has, and we'll talk about it. And we invite you to get in on it right here at 205-342-9904 or on the live stream. And hey, listen, I think I forgot to do this, and I always make sure that I am thankful. Let's remember that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. We'll be back to kick it off again in the second quarter right here on your home for Alabama Sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, southbound Highway 69 from Middlebury Road to 15th Street. That'll take you about 9 minutes. On 2059 from Foster's to McFarland, a 9-minute drive there. 8 minutes westbound from Cottondale to the I-359 interchange, and McFarland Boulevard moving well at 13 minutes from Coker to Jack Warner Parkway. No big problem spots at this early hour. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Townsend Nissan is your #1 dealer, and they'll beat any written offer or pay you $1,000. Keeping you #1 keeps Townsend Nissan #1. See dealer for details.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
one nonstop party. Save a horse, ride a cowboy, big and rich, featuring Gretchen Wilson.
You know I'm here for the party.
2024 Celebration Tour. One band, one show with Cowboy Troy and DJ Sinister. Saturday, July 6th, Pearl River Resort Silver Star Convention Center. On sale now at pearlriverresort.com.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
If your dad loves a great cigar, give him a gift card from R&R Cigars. He can use it to get one of his favorite cigars in the flavor and taste preference he likes. He can also use it on one of his favorite drinks. Your dad will also enjoy their HD TVs, card room, movie room, sports room, and business center with Wi-Fi. So if your dad loves a great cigar, let him relax and recharge with a Father's Day gift card from R&R Cigars, 2703 6th Street, Tuscaloosa. Online at rnrcigars.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Heat levels rising over the next few days. Lots of sunshine today. Tuscaloosa's high 94. Mostly fair tonight. The low at 70. Sizzling weather tomorrow and Saturday. Lots of sunshine both days. Highs between 96 and 99. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 63 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We're glad to have you with us this morning. Thanks for joining the program. You can, you maybe, if you tune in on the video, I'm dressed in blue today. Alabama won blue. We got a big benefit golf tournament today, so I'm going to be heading out there as soon as I get off the airwaves. Great time to support our Alabama One Aspire Foundation. You can always be a part of supporting the great things. One of my areas is the community impact. And one of the ways we do that is through our Alabama One Aspire Foundation. And we have an annual golf tournament that funds a lot of our activities. But you can always find out more and support us as well at Alabama One Foundation.org. You can go there and you can support and be a part of it. And of course, we're always there to support you with all of our great products and services. So go check us out at alabama1.org. The foundation is alabama1foundation.org. You can see our mission, purpose, and vision. But either way, we'd love for you to be a part of what we have going. And hopefully we will have a very, very successful day and raise money to give scholarships. We give over 20-something scholarships statewide for students to continue their education is one of our big impact initiatives. So, all right, Pat, before we get back with X, you're in on the Alabama One hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
I got a recruiting question and a roster management question. Recruiting questions are that are we going to be able to get Ty Haywood locked in as an offensive tackle? And are we going to be able to lock in a 5-star wide receiver? That's my questions for X on that. And then my next question is roster management. Is LT Overton going to shine at Alabama this fall?
So as far as wide receivers go, Bama is in on, well, he's a 4-star, but a highly rated 4-star, and that's Travis Smith Jr. He'll be in town this weekend for a visit. His dad is a big Bama guy. That's where his dad is leaning for him to want to go. There's some rumors that maybe he commits this weekend on Father's Day because of that his dad's love for Bama and everything. But then you have Decorian Moore, of course, a teammate of Keelan Russell. That Keelan's going to try to get him on campus this summer. Khalid Lockett, another 5-star wide receiver, is a guy that Keelan Russell mentioned of wanting to get here at Bama, and he has scheduled a visit. It's either for next weekend or in July. He hasn't set a specific date yet. And then you have high 4-star Derek Meadows, who is out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. He will be here during the summer as well. Those kind of seem to be the big 3 wide receiver targets that Alabama is still looking at.
And they already have a couple guys, right?
They have Lotzier, Brooks, and then you have Derek, who Lotzier, I just forget, out of Virginia, and then you have Derek Smith out of Selma, who can play wide receiver or safety. It's not really set in stone where Alabama wants him at yet.
All right. Answer Pat's next question about.
And then as of LT Overton, man, I think he's going to shine in that bandit position, which is, once again, when you listen to what Coach Saban said when he talked to Kane Womack, what he talked about Kane Womack, of that 4-2-5 being what Bama was trying to transition to before he retired. I think he'll be really good in that spot. I think between him and Jamarian Latham, that's who you're going to see really this year at that position.
Yeah, no doubt. And I would not be surprised had Saban been more into this role, he probably would have been here. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate you. Good questions there on recruiting. Thank you, sir.
He didn't mention Haywood though.
Well, go ahead. Thanks, Pat. Go ahead and answer the Haywood question, if you can, Ax.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed the Haywood question. Ty Haywood, once again, when you look at Keelan Russell, he's the quarterback in this class. He's the guy that's really touting and trying to bring guys in. I think Haywood is a big chance to commit to this class once again, based off of Russell, that he wants him to be his blind side. Russell's mom and Haywood's mom had a connection while they were here. So I think it's something that you'll see Bama. He'll be a guy, as far as on the offensive line, that Bama's really pushing to bring in.
All right. Thank you, sir. X, what else you got before transition topics? Hello, X.
Yeah, when Bama's got a couple of flip prospects. Naeem offered out of Parker High School, 5-star, who's committed to Ohio State. He was here last weekend on a visit. Bama is really trying to push for him. Once again, it was a guy that had committed right after Saban left, and there really wasn't much of a relationship there with this new staff, but they got him here on a visit, kind of opened his eyes up to things. Ryan Williams, Jalen Mbakwe, and Drake Kirkpatrick were 3 guys that he was seeing hanging out with a lot, pushing for him to flip. So he's on flip watch with Bama.
Who is he currently committed to?
Ohio State. He's currently committed to Ohio State. And then you have Jaden Perlow, a 4-star linebacker who's out of Buford High School, who's committed to Georgia. He was here this past weekend, and he's another big flip. He's a big flip target. And also with, once again, the number of linebackers Alabama has committed to him, look for Miles Johnson, who is a leftover commit from Coach Saban, to potentially be flipping to Florida. That looks like that's in the works as well, making room for a guy that his staff really wants, whether that be Perlow or four-star linebacker Ty Jackson, who seems down between Alabama and Georgia.
All right. Anything else from that recruiting standpoint? Or
No, they pretty much covered. Well, the four-star interior offensive lineman Michael Uta out of Bishop Gorman as well in Las Vegas. He'll be in town for a visit. So, hey, once again, the question was last week, is Alabama looking at offensive linemen? And you see Alabama looks like they might be going on a run of top offensive linemen in the country.
Yep. Well, I don't question DeBoer, at least in that area anymore. So, excuse me. Like I said yesterday, I'm switching gears. A couple of stories that we can hit: the Bryant Denny, Jordan Hare being removed from the high school playoffs. Alabama versus North Carolina in the ACC SEC matchup on December 4th in Carolina. And of course, this gives Alabama a chance to even the series at 7-7. And then Kristaps Porzingis. Have you watched any of the NBA playoffs?
Yes.
Is the Boston Celtics potentially a precursor of what Alabama can be when they go to the almost a 4-guard, big, guards, is, to me, I've been watching Porzingis, and to me, he reminds me of a potential of what our big man could be. So not Clifford, but are we potentially seeing what this team could be when they don't have the rim protector in, and they go pretty much 5 out? Because they move the ball. Good gracious, Boston moved the ball so much, and when Porzingis is in there, you see Brown get so many dunks at the rim because there's no rim protector, because he's having to go out and guard Porzingis. Are we seeing a little bit of what our guys can become?
I think that's a fair comparison, and man, that would be absolutely perfect if excuse me, if the offense runs in that direction with Clifford now because you can pull Grant out to the perimeter. So I think that would be absolutely perfect.
Justin, what do you think? Have you got to watch any of the NBA playoffs?
Yeah, I've kept up with it loosely. I think I would love to see that as well. I just hope our guy doesn't have the injury issues that Kristaps Porzingis has.
That's true. That's true. But it'd be nice, like what they did was when he's out, because they went to a guy that could be a little more rim protector, and they still have the 4 guys that can spread it out. They're still a pretty good team. So, and that would be our second offense, I think. I think we'll start with Grant at the 4 and Big C or Big O, whichever way we decide to call him. He'll be at the 5, but then when you switch, that's not a bad, secondary formation. So coming back on the other side, I just saw that the last couple of nights, and I was like, I better go ahead and mention that, because this thing might be a 4 and done, and I won't get a chance to mention it while it's live. So if you get a chance to watch the Boston Dallas 4th game, I know you may hate NBA, but watch it just to see if you can see a little bit of the potential of what we may see with Alabama on the hardwood. Ran into Greg Byrne yesterday. I'll tell you about my brief conversation with him. It was a good conversation, good catch up, and give a shout out there as well. And we'll keep the conversation going. Little true false. We'll do the buy sell tomorrow. We'll do true false on the other side of X. I want to get this before you have to get out of here. Considering if we win a national championship, DeBoer takes this team to the national championship, typical fashion, it's always been the prior coach's team. The question I have for you, true, false? Will this be DeBoer's team if he wins it based on the current climate of college football? You can get in on it, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline, or put your comments in chat.
Help, help. I have ordered too many new Nissans. Townsend Nissan's inventory overload sale is underway now with offers like this. $2,000 instant savings on every Nissan Kicks and Nissan Sentra in stock. New Nissan Altimas, the midsize family sedan, $3,000 off and rates as low as 1.9. And yes, everybody needs a truck like the new V6 Frontier starting at only $29,990. Wow, that's low. New Armadas, the full-size SUV with discounts up to $8,000. And yes, Townsend Nissan wants and needs your trade today. Shop Townsend Nissan.
We could try to explain what it feels like to get your work done on a John Deere. The way a Z-Track mower finishes in half the time you thought it would. Or how much easier it is to move mountains of soil with the 1 Series tractor. We could even go into detail about how it feels to tow up to 4,000 pounds behind a Gator XUV. But if you really want to know what it's like to run with us, you just have to get in the seat. Learn more at johndeere.com/get-in-the-seat or visit a dealer near you.
Why do so many dogs suffer from weight issues, skin problems, messy poops, and low energy? It could be the popular dog food you put in their bowl each day.
Cody was sleeping a lot, wasn't playing.
She was very lethargic and not moving around.
Dry kibble just wasn't cutting it. That's why, after more than 45 years of experience of helping dogs make complete health turnarounds, veterinarian Dr. Marty created Nature's Blend. It's a freeze-dried raw dog food made with wholesome ingredients like premium meats, seeds, vegetables, and fruit. And once dog parents switch their pups to Nature's Blend, the results can be astounding.
She's got her energy back. She's running around like she did like 5 years ago.
Miraculously, she's just feeling all around better. She's like a new dog. Thank you, Dr. Marty.
Get your dog started today and save up to 54% off Nature's Blend. Plus, receive a free pack of our best-selling beef liver dog treats. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511. All dogs are unique. Your dog's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier. We're live locally, and we got things rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports. I want to invite you once again to get in on that conversation. 205-342-9904. All right, true, false question X. Typically, if a new coach comes in and wins a national championship, it's always the prior coach's team. It's, Les Miles won with Saban's player. Yeah. It's always that's always the case. If you win it in the first year or so. And initially, even Kirby was, they were saying he's winning, but then he started upping the recruiting. Well, in this case, true, false. If DeBoer wins it this year, will the conversation be this was DeBoer's team? True or false?
Man, I think in this new era of transfer portal, and when you look at what all Alabama lost over the last all season from transfers out and the draft, 50% of this roster is new, roughly. I think you have to say it's as much of DeBoer's team as it is Saban's team.
What about you, Justin? True, false?
I might have to agree with X. I think it's also going to depend on the impact of these players that are solely DeBoers, which I think you look at the Jeremy Bernards and the there's another guy that is blanking my mind right now, but how big of an impact it's going to be on this team when it comes to winning a national championship. So I kind of like X's take there.
Yeah, typically it's always been a no-brainer, right? The fact that we can even have this conversation shows you how different college football is. In what world, other than the college football world of 2024, would you have a coach who has had 3 consecutive top, right now the guys who are the juniors and seniors all have been top 3 classes X? Yeah. So the top 2 or 3 classes, if you go back 3-4 years, right? And the fact that you can even have a legit conversation about would this be considered his team, the new coach's team, just shows you how crazy and chaotic college football has gotten. But it's a legit question because of the number of guys who were on the roster last year and left, whether that be through attrition, whether that be through the portal, whether that be through whatever. And then to take and talk a little bit about the add-ons, lose key players. Who was Saban's best? Who was going to be Saban's dog and probably Saban's most talked about player in a long time? If he was still here, who would be the guy that be getting all the headlines right now? Caleb Downs. I mean, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And so that's the guy, and he's gone, right? So when you look at that and the fact that, you look at the guys that he got to come because he's here or to come back, which one of those guys? Because I think part of it is perfectly what you said, Justin, is what is going to be the impact of the players that he added to this roster, and how significant will that be in terms of this year's team? So let's look at the offensive side of the ball. He brought back Bernard, Proctor, and brought back Bernard, Brailsford, Proctor. I forget the tight end's name. And an off, Cuevas, and an offensive lineman. Did he bring anybody else in on the offensive side of the ball?
From what?
No, just in general.
The offensive lineman, tight end, wide receiver, and a backup quarterback this year.
And backup quarterback. Okay. Of the guys he brought in that will play, what role will they play? How significant do you think their role will be? Will it be enough that if Proctor wasn't here, because you have to give him credit for Proctor now, right? Proctor can't be considered a Saban guy, can he?
That's a good question.
Justin, is Proctor a Saban guy or DeBoer guy?
I'm leaning Saban. I'm leaning Saban on that one.
I would have left
because he never even though he left and came back, he
left because Saban left.
Yeah.
He came back because Saban left, or because DeBoer, right? So,
right.
I mean, he can't be all Saban's guy. DeBoer has to get some credit because DeBoer had to have created an environment that made that guy feel like he could come back. Number one, he had to have created an environment where the players would accept him back. And this is what nobody's talking about. Alabama's been Alabama, right? Alabama was Alabama before Nick Saban. We just became Alabama on steroids. But think about how these guys are talking about how much fun they're having. And guys like Caleb Odom said, hey, I committed to Alabama. That's why I stayed when Saban left. Well, this guy committed to Saban and he left because Saban left. So when he comes back, he had to be re-recruited back. Regardless of how, players play just a bigger part of the role. If it stunk here and it did not feel right to be an Alabama football player, would DeBoer, I mean, if it was going bad, would Proctor be back?
Most likely not.
Right. So he has to be at least 50-50. And with that said, X, when you look at those guys that he brought back on the offensive side of the ball, those are some pretty important positions. Probably your number one receiver, potentially, right?
Yeah.
Your center, which we know what that cost us. Probably our starting left tackle, which we know what that cost us last year. So if he's improved, and then you have a backup guy that can spell all of those guys, and you have a tight end that adds to the tight end room. Pretty good job. Flip over on the defensive side of the ball. Who we got that he brought in that contributes? Based on this being DeBoer's team, we're making an argument for this being DeBoer's team.
Keon Sabb transferred after he got the job.
How big a get was that?
Huge. Deshaun Jones.
What was our biggest weakness?
Do you count Damani Jackson and do you count Damani and LT?
Why not? Did they have a choice to come or go when he left?
They had a choice.
So, who signed them? Who kept him in the fold? I mean, you have to give DeBoer credit for that, right?
They never even really practiced with Saban's staff or anything. So
Justin, do you have to give DeBoer credit for those guys too? Being that they could have left before he came, when he came, and after the spring. All right. Yeah. So they've only practiced for him, so they have to be his guys. They never practiced for Saban.
Yes.
All right. So right now, DeBoer has some pretty key elements. There's one more guy that he brought in that may win 3 or 4 games for us.
Oh, the kicker.
There we go. So you could see that his players could have huge impact. But here's another angle that I say could potentially make this clearly DeBoer's team. Now let's say that this defense, let's go to the defensive side of the ball first, guys. Let's say the defense just comes out and plays lights out, and we don't see a lot of mistakes and busted coverages and all those types of things. And Virgil Williams, he's going where I'm getting ready to go. Virgil Williams, I'll read his comment because this is where I was headed. He said, you also have to look at the development of the players that were here that were, that were saving recruits, but how much how much more development do they have with him here that makes a big difference just because Saban recruited them. And just because Saban coaching them for a little bit doesn't mean anything if DeBoer comes in and gets more out of them, right? So that's what I was getting ready to say. If all of a sudden this defense and those DBs take the next step, how comfortable would you have been with the way we were already busting coverages if we had lost all those DBs, right? I mean, you would be worried. I mean, I would be worried with last year's staff that what I've seen the last couple of years, having 4 or 5 new DBs. Right, X? So he gets the defense. Yeah. But here's the ticket. Here's the question. If Jalen Milroe goes to New York in a Heisman, does this make a slam dunk? This is DeBoer team.
Yes.
Justin, if Jalen Milroe goes to the next level, wins the Heisman, and Alabama wins the national championship, does this make this clearly DeBoer's team?
Well, I'd actually argue that it makes it Saban's team, because I think the national argument around that would be that Milroe is Saban's guy. Milroe was the talent that Saban had and would have, carried this team to whatever goals we reach this season, especially if he ends up in New York.
And I would totally disagree, because I think Milroe we would have went through the same crap again. No starter, no clear starter. There's nothing out there that the backups had done that made them even be in the conversation last year. Milroe was clearly the best quarterback last year, and we went through half of the season wondering if he was, and still had questions about him. And here's the reason why. Because if you look at if he has the type of year Penix had, it means that all of the receivers are going to be better. And it doesn't have to be 5,000 yards like Penix had, but Penix would not be considered the coach who recruited him's player. I mean, he would be his player, but the growth has to go to the coach that coached him up if he goes to the Heisman. Nobody talks about the guys who recruited Burrow and Daniels. It's the guys who coached them and ran the right offense for them. Could you imagine how frustrating it would be right now if we were having to talk about Tommy D's, in this offense? Would you be excited? Would you be excited about Milroe going into 2024, 2025?
Not at all.
I mean, I think that's the DeBoer effect. So I'll say true. I say it'll be DeBoer's team, especially if Milroe balls out. And I get what you're saying. Saban recruited him, but to Virgil's point, he hadn't developed him.
I see what you're saying, Martin, and kind of off of like the money talk we had yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to find out. Let's see him get the Heisman, and then we can talk about it some more.
That'll be a great conversation for us to be having, right? That's one of those debates we like to have at the end of the year. Hey, coming back on the other side, we'll have the Harvest Church 2-minute warning, and I'll tell you about my brief conversation with Greg Byrne. We've got a caller that we need to get in, a couple comments we'll get in. Thanks for being part of the show, all the callers, viewers, and chatters. We'll be back in just a moment to wrap up this edition of the Martin Houston Show.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We're looking in good shape all across the area this morning as our major roadways are all free and clear of any major accidents or breakdowns or any heavy backups. It'll take more than a minute or two to get through. That includes the trip on 2059 from Foster's to Cottondale. If you're traveling Lurling-Wallace down from Northport across the Hugh Thomas Bridge to the University exit and McFarland Boulevard as well, all remain in good condition. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Townsend Nissan is your #1 dealer, and they'll beat any written offer or pay you $1,000. Keeping you #1 keeps Townsend Nissan #1. See dealer for details.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Rev up your life with a 2024 Kia Forte GT line from Julio Jones Kia. 0 down, sign and drive, it's that easy. For just $299 a month, you can own this sleek beauty. 36-month lease, 10,000 miles per year. Explore Tuscaloosa in style. Apple CarPlay, Android Audio, and more, all yours. Lease offer subject to credit approval. Taxes not included. Stock number K8796. VIN number 3KPF54ADX RE771137. Julio Jones Kia at 4301 Greensboro Avenue, Tuscaloosa, or 24/7 at buyfromjulio.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Got a car-loving dad? Nice. We've got a Father's Day sale. Right now, our Armor All Ultimate 8-piece bucket kit is just $25. That's soap, a wash mitt, wheel cleaner, tire shine, glass wipes, and interior wipes. Plus, a bucket to use for the wash. All for just $25 at the AutoZone Father's Day sale. Now through the 16th.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Seasons change. Why not your tech? Upgrade now during the Dell Technologies Summer Sale event and save on select PCs like the XPS 16 powered by Intel Core processors. You'll be able to bring your most intensive projects to life with built-in AI, minimalistic design, immersive visuals, and cinematic audio. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to exceptional tech and electronics plus free shipping on everything. Amazing prices await you for a limited time only at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. You got Billy's Cooking Restaurant. Go check them out. DoorDash them or call them 205-632-8617. That's Billy's Cooking LLC on Facebook, 205-632-8617 or DoorDash, and they'll take care of you. It's Fish Friday, so give them a try. It's now time for the Harvest Church 2-minute warning. Got some comments. Lisa Fitz, using speak to text, of course, so I'm going to have to translate this. I think she's saying Miro would not be in the place for DeBoer to mold and work with him had last year Saban and the team not got him, and I agree with that. He would not have finished sixth in the Heisman Trophy voting last year. Listen, I think Miro finished in the I think he finished where he finished despite this coaching staff last year. I think this coaching staff used him and his talent maybe twice all last year and ran a game plan for him, one of those being the LSU game, one of them I think being the Kentucky game. But they didn't use his skill set very much. They called a offense, and the way they handled him, the typical kid, if he was not raised by military parents, Justin, when he – have you ever heard what his parents told him when he came to them when he got benched?
I'm not sure if I have.
They came to him when he came to them when he got benched. They said, well, what you going to do? You going to go back and take your job or not? What do most parents do today? Right? So the way Saban handled that, I love Coach Saban, and he's the GOAT. But most kids aren't strong enough to take that, because that would have been humiliating. Think about what it was like after you saw those two guys play against South Florida, and you saw Miro play before that and after that, and you're going, what did they see that made that competition close? I don't know. But anyway, they saw something. Must have been something that wasn't shown on the field. Don't get me wrong, I like our backups, but they are backups, and they could lead. One or two of them could lead us if necessary. But Miro's clearly the dude. George, George from Macon, you're in on Saban's team or DeBoer's team?
It's DeBoer's team, and the reason being is every one of those kids had two opportunities to leave. They also had situations where when Saban retired, all the other coaches were coming after him like shark goes to blood. And they stayed for whether it be DeBoer or whether it be the cachet of being in Alabama. And the cachet of being in Alabama was there when Saban got there. I mean, he's having to re-recruit every one of those players possibly. And, and that's just the fact. And the ones that stayed is kind of like a high school kid that loves Alabama all the time. And all the coach did there was open the door to let him come in. And it was that way for 3 months at Alabama. They could have gone whenever they wanted to. And think about this. Every coach in the SEC or in the NCAA was contacting those kids or their parents or their high school coaches to come to their school, but they didn't for several reasons, and one of those reasons is DeBoer. It's kind of like, of course, I'm old school, Martin. I remember when you were being recruited. Oh, Curry is one of Curry's guys, but who developed him? The coaching staff at Alabama, and that's kind of the way it is there. And I'm with you. I'm getting so tired of hearing about Milroe not being good enough for this, that, and the other. He is the most electric offensive player I have seen in a long time because he can do it all, and he's got God-given talent that not many other people have. All he has to do is be a little bit more developed and have a little bit more people around him that are good. And that's kind of my comments, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to say what I said.
George nailed it, Justin. No other coach in the history of college sports had to go through what DeBoer just went through. Post-championship, pre-signing, transfer portal, NIL, and replacing the GOAT. And he kept this team together and added key pieces. It's DeBoer's team. Phillips saying the secret sauce is the staff. This staff is head and shoulders better than last year's staff. Also, DeBoer will not confuse the staff with coach speak like Saban did. Saban confused himself last year, i.e. Ty Buckner. C.J. Watson saying in the past when a new coach started, the only claim they could have were on the players in the first recruiting class in the offseason. The coach changes, and those freshmen rarely even saw the field, so the statement was easy to make. New coach won with old coach's player. It's a lot harder to make that argument now with the number of impact transfers in and out, and I think the argument is valid that this is DeBoer's team. Saban crushed Milroe last year, Virgil Williams saying, and the way he handled that situation last year, if Milroe does that and wins the Heisman this year, it's clearly DeBoer's team completely. Hey, we'll be back tomorrow and keep some of this conversation rolling. We'll have a little buy sale. It's a free-for-all Friday. Thanks all of you for being a part of the show. We'll add your comments into the conversation on tomorrow. Thanks for being a part of the program. Roll Tide out there, everybody. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston